I'd like to start off with a toast to you and all of the women out there in celebration of Women's History Month. You are part of this movement about the future is female, and Basis set a program called Persistence, and it's based on female mentorship. Can you talk a little bit about that and what that program represents to you, and also just what inspired that from you?
When I started Basis Set, this was 2017. Because we're very technically focused funds. Most of our founders are infrastructure, a lot of it dev tools, automation, AI in factories or farms. It's just not a community around this group of people, especially women. I remember coming to a VC and just completely surprised by how few people, like just no one, frankly, not a single person I can find at the time who's like me. So I remember talking to Ninian, who's our CTO, and she's so experienced, and a lot of venture firms really want to work with her and hire her. And I feel very fortunate that she chose us to work with. I remember talking to her about just such a lack of community for this type of group of women. So the first dinner we started was with specific women CTOs in very technical companies. We have Claire, who's at the time CTO of Udemy, and Ninian, who's former CTO of Minted and VP of Engineer at Niantic. And many really, we had I think Laura of Shippo attended our first dinner. She's working in logistics, supply chain, right? So that's how we got started. They're just small group of people, maybe 15, 20. Every month we'll host different people, but people work on women work on very technical things. And over time, we obviously expanded to non-technical women leaders, including go-to-market, like sales, marketing, operations. So that's how we got started, how we evolved over time. People say it's lonely at the top. It's extremely lonely when you're at the top of specific vertical, specific industry, and very technical infrastructure-based companies. And a lot of them they're very introverted like me. They don't go out and hang out with people naturally. Yeah, that's how we started Persistence. More like-minded people got together. We now have regular events, regular get-together. We just had a dinner with another group of women in San Francisco. We help each other with not only work challenges, but a lot of personal challenges. What is it like to be the only C-level women executive in a company? How do you hire more diverse talents in your company? So that's community. And for any women in tech who are interested, check out the website, persistent.org. We help each other also talk about funding companies, raising money. One of the founder is Roundup, who runs DevColor. She's been super helpful in shaping our mandate with specific Black engineers. And so, we're spending a lot of time. You're looking at specific group focused on women tech leaders, look us up.
Again, the website is persistence.org. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
I have a question based on that, and this is selfish. We have a couple of portfolio companies that they're anywhere from 4 employees to 7, 10. They're just before they're at 10 employees, and they haven't hired their first woman yet. And first of all, I give them endless shit about that, and I'm always trying to be an advocate for, at the very least, bringing more women into the pool of applicants however you can. One thing that they've told me is hard for them is hiring the first woman, because it's going to be, you said lonely at the top, but I associate it with, it's hard being that first woman hire. What is one practice? How do we get companies to make that hire, in your estimation?
I think your first hire will need to be a relatively senior person. It's very hard to be the first junior woman when everyone else is more senior than you. It's just much harder to start and much harder to continue. So as early as possible, find someone who's experienced, who have big impact and followership, ideally, of other more diverse talents, either being an investor or a board member or senior woman leader or co-founder, the more you can involve a diverse talent at the beginning at the senior level, the better chance you'll build a more diverse organization.
That's
great advice.
fantastic. Yeah.
All diversity, not just women, not just people of color. If you want to have people from different backgrounds, you got to integrate them super early on as really part of organization versus otherwise it's just very hard to actually build it up.
So I first want to just strongly express gratitude and thanks to one, the female VCs that trailblazed and paved the path to allow me to follow in their footsteps. And that is, for me, Heidi Roizen, who I mentioned earlier as one of the professors of the Threshold and DFJ program that I was a part of, who has also become a dear mentor and champion and sponsor and dear friend. I'm just so grateful for women like her and Anne Winblon and all of these amazing legends who have allowed this possibility to come to fruition. It's also in the aerospace industry. I look up to women like Gwen Shotwell, who's the president and CEO of SpaceX. And she walks down the rocket aisle with her red Louis Vuitton sole heels and just commands authority in a feminine, very, very inspiring way. Now, as you asked this question, I am an investor. I look at data. And just yesterday, Axios, May 16th, yesterday, wrote another article on these data. In 2016 and 2020, 12.4%.
Oh,
Right now, it's 14.2.
wow.
So taking that data, right, what do I see from that? I see it's moving. I see there's progress being made. Now, is that number 50? No. How long is it going to take to get to 50? A while. And it needs to move faster than that. And I'm really grateful for the partners at Bessemer that have sponsored and championed me and Mary D'Onofrio, who is also recently partner at Bessemer. She's also a dear friend. She joined 3 years ago and it was the best thing to happen to the firm. And it's been so great getting to know her and work with her and now be her partner at the firm. So I think everybody realizes how large of a problem this is and is working on a solution. And it's not, and I don't also, by the way, want to just specify gender. That is one of many qualities and attributes, by the way, above the iceberg. There's so much of a diverse perspective. And I really think and want to make sure that that's not only reflected around the Bessemer partnership table, but around portfolio company CEOs and portfolio companies. I'm a big advocate in the boardroom for D&I, and I sit on comp committees to make sure that everybody within the company, whether you're male or female or whichever race, are paid the exact same depending on your level and are getting the same amount of equity. That's a little thing that I can do in all my companies, in addition to mentoring and advocating and speaking at these events and organizations and being a member of All Raise, which I'm very grateful for, and just being hopefully that role model for other folks. Like if I had never seen Sally ride when I was 12, 13, I probably never would have, I never would have thought that would have been for me to be able to do. So I'm so excited about the next generation of little girls. I get to look up and see Heidi and Mary and just be so inspired. They look like me. I can do that too.
If you think about why diversity in venture has been horrible in the past, and for lack of a better word, been horrible in terms of the VC side of the equation, and it's also been horrible in the side of the entrepreneurs part of the equation. It's because venture started 50 plus years ago, right, in the Valley. And it started by a group of men. And they would typically, the whole job of venture as GPs is to take $1 and hopefully make it $5 in the future, turn money to LPs and keep some of it. So that's the whole model. And you've had generations and generations of wealth created based on backing the type of founders in their networks, right? And so initially, your networks tend to look like yourself in a lot of ways, right? So typically you're backing these type of founders. And then you've generated such great returns for your LPs and you want to do it in a repeatable way. So you're trying to do it on your fund 5, fund 6, et cetera. And then you look at pattern recognition. Ooh, what type of founder have we backed in the past that has helped us generate this type of return profile? Then try to back those same type of founders in the future, which tends to look like the same type of founders in the past.
See the problem compounding there. Yes.
It is. It actually gets so much worse over time, right? And so I actually think the way the diversity problem gets fixed at scale is to have LPs hold GPs to a higher bar and a higher standard. Because if you're only held to the bar of returning capital, you're going to try to return capital in ways that you've historically done and you know how to. Sure. And so with that in mind, I do think there's some onerous that needs to be put on the LP side of the equation.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side of it, on the venture side of it, you also tended to be pretty myopic where you want to hire folks from your own network, people who you never see VC firms until very recently post partner roles, right?
Sure.
Not how it happens. It's usually a friend in your network refers you to someone else, or you've maybe been on the board with someone in the past. You've seen what they're like. And that's how hiring typically happens on the venture side. So if you have an all-male partnership, for instance, or you have a partnership that looks very similar, and what is the incentive for you to find entrepreneurs who look so different? How are you going to penetrate into networks that are outside your own networks? So in general, this is why I think venture is in the state in which it is. See, there has to be a proactive, very conscious effort in order to diversify across the board, both within the VC firm side of it, because then you're branching out your networks, which will lead to hopefully more entrepreneurs. And the reason why we launched the female founders competition in the past is because it actually started when I was at M12 and and we were exclusively enterprise focused investors. And the framework kept coming whenever we discussed with founders and other VCs that there aren't that many women founders building companies in the enterprise sector as there are in the consumer sector. That's why there isn't a lot of women founders who are getting funded in enterprise sector. Seemed fine on the surface, right? Yeah, I guess makes sense. But we decided to actually put that to the test. Is that the case? We're calling out all female founders who are building companies who are solving active problems for the enterprise, right?
Sure.
That was the impetus for us launching the female founders competition. It was exclusively focused on enterprise. And guess how many applications we received? I did not know there were that many female founders out there, let alone female founders selling to the enterprise.
You don't have a mandate that I'm aware of at Wave to invest in X percentage of female companies. Where do you see your role as a female VC in investing in women-founded companies? And do you think it's a bad thing that people have mandates that they're going to invest in X number of women, minorities, whatever it might be?
I think a third of our portfolio has female CEOs. It's not intentional.
Which is a healthy amount.
It's healthy, yeah. It's better than
healthier.
Average. Healthier.
Yes.
I think part of what anyone who has a different background brings to the table is a different lens. And to me, my network tends to be more heavily skewed towards women. So that's great as a starting place. We are intentional and we talk about it a lot. So at minimum, we have these conversations very openly, not only about women versus men, but also having more diversity across the portfolio generally. It's not enough, but I'm glad at least I'm at a place where I feel not awkward about talking about it. But I think here's an example. There's two. One is I invested in we have some wiggle room on our thesis. Not all of our companies are marketplaces because we want to invest in a handful of companies that we just can't not invest in, even if they aren't marketplaces. And one of them was a baby formula company. So a female founding team who we'd happened to work with at Airbnb, moms themselves, and they had an idea to create a baby formula that's more similar to what's made in Europe, but not FDA approved. And they wanted to get FDA approval. And yeah, really, that's clearly something I care a lot about. And having had two little kids, thought a lot about, knew a lot about. And that coupled with their are such amazing operators and excellent founders. We have to do this. And for us, we have this concept of a silver bullet in our fund where if we want to invest if there's one deal in the fund that might be very controversial, but we have to do it, we will. I was willing to use my silver bullet for this, didn't have to, but was willing to do it because I just felt so strongly about it. Now, Riley was super supportive. He knew the founders before, but he didn't yet have a kid. He now does, but he didn't yet at that point. And so I think I brought that experience into the conversation because it's part of my life and you have to do that. Sure. Another example, though, I think is one of my most recent investments, which was in a female CEO. And honestly, she struggled with fundraising. We now are leading her seed, and she took pre-seed money along the way and persevered and got through and recruited and built a product in a way that I look at some of these other male CEOs in other industries and I'm like, you don't even know what it's like to have a hard fundraise. And you talk about it like you've had so much struggle. Yeah. Man, this woman has done so much. And honestly, that just made me so much more impressed with her perseverance, with her grit, with her passion, and just unrelenting force that she brought to the company. That was what got me. I'd been talking to her on and off for a year, but seeing it in that light, I was like, aha, this is it. We got to do this. She is someone who cannot be stopped. So I think I see people who are underrepresented as, oh my God, imagine if you had funding, imagine if you had resources, because damn, look at what you've done without it. Yeah. I mean, I love that. I love that hunger because startups are hard. And so I've certainly seen the best founding teams and the best markets struggle because everyone struggles. And in the struggle, you see the true colors come out. And I want to see that grit. That's when I want to see it. So if I can see that along the way, even better. But to your other question about, do I believe in having a mandate? I'm all for it. I'm not against it at all. I don't believe in this, where you're lowering the bar. You know what? The bar is messed up. So let's open the aperture and at least have enough conversations to have a healthy pipeline. And if that's the way to do it, fine. That's great. Put your capital to work and put your money where your mouth is. I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah. This clip is brought to you by Fidelity Private Shares, the all-in-one equity management platform built for startups. Fundraising? Download our ebook, The Irresistible Startup, for tips and tricks from our VC friends and guests. Find the link below.
To watch or listen to your favorite episodes of the podcast, go to dwavc.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.